Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this presentation. Give me just a moment while I turn on my webcam. There we go. How you guys doing? All right. I apologize for the delay on the start there. We're going to make the best out of this presentation. I'm going to show you some very cool functionality on TradeStation that I'm sure everyone will enjoy. I'm not sure about using it, but sometimes these tools are kind of hidden. So it's always good to have a presentation that tells us how to use it and how to maximize the potential of them. So let's go ahead and get started. All right. Are you guys able to hear me? All right. Yes, excellent. Thank you for those confirmations right there in the chat. By the way, the room is full with people, and I want to welcome everyone. You know, I'm broadcasting here from the city of Plantation, Florida. Actually, no, this is Miami. Plantation's office. Miami is home. For a moment, I just thought I was in the office. I'm in my home office. So, all right, guys. And I was just going to say that the room is filled with people, and it's going to be a little bit of a challenge to address every single question that pops up right there in the chat. So I'm going to apologize beforehand. If I don't get to your question, don't feel that I'm ignoring you, but we're going to try to present as much information as we can starting right now. The title is Creating Macros, Toolbar Buttons, and Hotkeys. Let's go ahead and get started. And we're going to do that with the disclosures. Keep in mind that every symbol and idea that we talk about in this presentation is for educational purposes only. It is not a recommendation of TradeStation. Active trading is not suitable for everyone. There are some products that have inherent risk, and we should be aware of that. For anybody that would like to read more about these disclosures, please visit our website, TradeStation.com, and you'll find all the disclosure information there. All right. To get started, let's talk a little bit about what is it that we're doing at youcantrade.com. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but YouCanTrade is an educational platform. It's a subsidiary of TradeStation, and TradeStation is hosting a couple of channels in there. The first channel is the Getting Started with TradeStation. For those of you that have not visited youcantrade.com, I'm encouraging everyone to do so. The Getting Started with TradeStation is a channel that we created to provide free educational content on the TradeStation platforms. We meet there every single week. We highlight a certain platform and we open up the floor for Q&A for those of you that have questions on the TradeStation technology. Once you're ready to get your education to the next level, we have the TradeStation Masterclass. It is a premium channel, but here we go a little bit beyond of just showing you technicalities and functionality on TradeStation. We talk about technical analysis, we talk about strategy development, and we talk about programming your own strategies and studies using TradeStation. So it goes a little bit more, it goes beyond of what we cover inside of the Getting Started with TradeStation channel. And I want everyone to take advantage of the 14-day free trial that we are offering everyone. But we meet there every single day. So every single day you have an opportunity to meet the instructor, ask questions, and discuss some important topics that every trader should be aware of. So take advantage of the 14-day trial, check out the content that we are producing, and decide whether it is something you want to keep or not. Okay? All right. Let's talk about the command line. Let's talk about macros, and let's talk about hotkeys. Underneath TradeStation, underneath what you see when you log into the platform for the first time, there is a command line that you can use in order to speed up the changing of things on the TradeStation platform. For example, let me just open this up because they're in the wrong order. I misplaced my PowerPoint, but starting here from the very top, you have 4 categories of command lines. You have a symbol command line, an interval command line, an action command line, and a macro command line. We're going to look at an example of each one of those, but the most common ones are the first 2, symbol and interval. I'm pretty sure that everyone here has used those on your own personal platform. For example, when you want to change the symbol on any chart analysis window, you just type it in, right? So if you want to change it to, let's say, Twitter, you type in TWTR, hit the enter key, and you can see how the chart or any other application like Market Depth or the Matrix, they all will change the symbol. So that's the symbol command line. We also have the interval command line, which changes the time frame of a chart analysis by just typing it in. For example, you may type the word daily and the chart, changes to a daily interval. You may type in 5 space MIN and it changes to a 5-minute interval. So the first two, we're all used to. And in fact, if you've been using TradeStation for a while, you'll probably find these to be second nature. It's kind of very easy to use your keyboard to use the command line for that. So that's the command line that I'm talking about. But there are other two that may not be so obvious and may not be so in your face. For example, action and macros. So those are the ones that we're going to concentrate on today. And I'm going to show you a few examples on how you can use them on your TradeStation platform. Action and macro commands must be preceded with a period. These are just some elements, some basics that we need to remember. Command names have no spaces and are not case sensitive. Parameters may be specified at a lot of these information is already on the TradeStation help documentation files. So there's no need for you to have a PDF. You just have to search for this command line in the help, and you get all these instructions right there and then. Okay, so there's nothing new that I'm presenting to you that is not already in TradeStation. It's just a matter of searching for it. Okay, parameters may be specified after the command. Action commands have short and long names. Multiple commands are separated by double semicolons. We're going to use this and we're going to go through a series of examples to show you what TradeStation is capable of doing. And then everything will sink in, everything will make sense. Because there's no point in me reading this PowerPoint slide and then what is he talking about? I can't really picture it in my head. So let's go over to TradeStation and do exactly what we're here for. We're going to create some macros, toolbar buttons, and hotkeys. And as I said earlier, we're going to do, oh, it didn't show up on the chat, of course, because I forgot to make sure that you all could see it. So let me go ahead and change that again. Now everybody should see it. All right, there you go. We're going to go through a series of exercises. But before, let me just explain the types of macros that are available on the TradeStation platform. First of all, what is a macro? A macro is a series of commands that are grouped together as a single command to accomplish a task automatically. Okay, if you've done other software like Photoshop, for example, I'm not sure how familiar you are with Photoshop, but you can create a series of actions like tone down the skin, make the contrast a little bit higher. So you can take all those actions and put them together into a macro. I think Photoshop calls them actions, but in TradeStation, they're called macros. And it's just a series of actions that you're taking. For example, creating a chart, adding a moving average, and doing something else to the chart. Those are things that you can create into a macro. But we have two different types of macros. We have a command line macro and an order entry macro, and we're going to take a look at both and try to understand the differences between them, okay? And we're going to do that with a series of exercises. In this PowerPoint slide, I have 3 exercises that I'm going to show you, and then we're going to jump over to the order entry macros, which I don't have a slide for them. But in this exercise, we're going to do the following. We're going to create a toolbar icon that when clicked, automatically changes the interval of the symbol on a chart analysis window. This is something that I'm going to modify a little bit because I did this presentation a long time ago when we had an older version of TradeStation, and some things have changed since then. So I'm going to show you what's available and what you can do if you don't find the tool that you're looking for. So let me switch over here to my TradeStation platform for a moment. And I'm going to just open up a chart analysis window. All right. For those that are joining TradeStation for the first time, because I did say that the symbol and the interval command line commands that you type in charting are very useful. But if you haven't seen those, let's take a look at this example. Right here, I have a chart of Cisco. If I want to see Bank of America, I know the symbol is BAC. All I need to do is on my keyboard, type in BAC. As soon as you press that first key, you're going to see the command line show up right here in the middle of the screen. It's one of those tools that are hidden until you need it. And once you press the first key, it just pops up on the screen. And right there inside the command line, you see BAC, which is what I just typed. And all you need to do is hit the enter key. Now I'm looking at a chart of Bank of America. You see how easy that was? The second type of command line command that you can type in is an interval. So right now I'm looking at a 5-minute. Let's say that I type in the word daily. Notice that the word daily shows up right here in the command line. I just have to press the enter key, and now I see a daily chart of Bank of America. Very simple. So those are the first two, very straightforward. Every time you need a symbol or an interval change, you can just type it in. Let's talk about the other two ones, which is the action command and the macro command. And for that, I'm going to use interval, because sometimes we may want to add additional time frames here. Maybe instead of a keyboard person, maybe you are a mouse person, meaning that rather than going to the keyboard and type the symbol, you find it more efficient to use your mouse and point to a toolbar button to change the time frame to what you want. Right here on my TradeStation, and this is something new on TradeStation version 10, if you follow the toolbar, you're going to find a little button at the very end of the toolbar that says Toolbar Options. And if you click on it, you'll find the option to customize. This is going to be a little bit different if you're using 9.5. I believe that on 9.5, you have to go through the menus at the very top. And I think the menu that will have this is the View menu. View, Customize, Toolbars, I think is the menu sequence. But in here, if you follow the toolbar on the application that you're using, the very last little button says Toolbar Options. You click on it and you find the option to customize. When I click on it, I get this little dialog with all the different applications, buttons that I can use and add. A lot of the buttons that are found here are not inside of the toolbar, right here at the top of my chart. In fact, one of the things that we did on TradeStation version 10 was to simplify the toolbar. Just make it a little bit more intuitive. And that's why you have those words at the very top. But a lot of times, you may want to add a quick function button that takes an action by just clicking on it. Let me show you one example. Right here on our time frame, you can see that we have time frames that are dedicated to a particular interval. Let's say that we want to do a 15, 30, and 60. Actually, no, let's do 30, 60, and daily. To do that, all you need to do is click on the option that you want. Let's say 30-minute. I'm going to click and drag it all the way to the very top next to the word time frame, in between time frame and drawing. I'm going to drop it there. Does everybody see the 30 right there on top? I just added a toolbar button that is going to change my time frame to 30 minutes. Let me do that with 60-minute. I'm just going to click it and drag it all the way up here, and I'm going to put it right next to the 30. Now I have another one that says 60. And I'm going to do the same thing with the daily. I'm just going to click it, bring it over, and drop it right here next to the 60. So now I'm adding buttons to my toolbar that were not there before, gives me quick access to certain actions. So I'm going to apply this, and they remain. So very quickly, I can come up here, instead of going to the time frame drop down, I can just click on the 30, and I have a 30-minute chart. I click on the 60, and I have a 60-minute chart. And then I click on the daily, and I have a daily chart. Now let's talk about an example of a time frame that is not available inside of the customize dialog. If I come over here, let's say customize. Let's say, for example, that we want to use a 65-minute, not a 60-minute, a 65. If you think about the stock market trades 6.5 hours. So if you do 60-minute bars, the first 6 are going to be 60 minutes, and the very last one is going to be 30 minutes because it's 6.5 hours. If you create a 65-minute chart, that is going to give you 6 equal time-based bars. There will all be 65. There will be 6 65-minute bars. There won't be any remaining half-hour bars. Though some traders out there use a 65-minute because it gives you an equal time frame for each one of the candles. But I don't find 65 minutes here. I know that I can type it in, 65 MIN, but what about creating a macro that allows me to do that? Let's go ahead and do that. To create a macro, you come over here to the View menu, go to Shortcuts, and you access the Macros dialog. All right, when you click on Macros, this is all the macros that are built into the TradeStation platform. I encourage everyone that is here in this class to take a look at everything that is here. If you remember the last slide that we were looking at, we did point out that there were 2 types of categories of macros. You have the command line macro and you have the order entry macros. As the name implies, The very first one, the command line macro, just generates or executes commands, whereas the ones that are called the order entry macros, they do send orders. And we're going to take a look at those and how you can create them. Well, let's go ahead and create a macro that changes the chart to 65-minute, and I'm going to add it here as a button. So I need to create a macro because the 65-minute button does not exist. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on create here on the right-hand side. This is from the macros dialog. I'm going to click on create, and I'm going to select a command line macro. I'm not trying to place an order. This is just an action command. So I'm going to say command line macro. I'm going to click next, and this is where I type in the command. In one of the slides that I showed on the screen, it said that every command is preceded with a period, but not time frames, because time frames, as you did on the chart analysis window, you just type it in and hit the enter key. So here, no period necessary. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in 65 and say 65 minutes. That's a command that TradeStation will recognize. Now, you don't have to spell out minutes. You can just use MIN if you want to. I'm going to see if minutes works. I'm going to click next. Yep, it does take it. If you're able to go to the next screen, that means that TradeStation is able to recognize that command. If it doesn't recognize, let me go back here and remove the S and try to go next. It still took it. So let me see if I mistype it. Let me take the E out. You see, as soon as you type in something that TradeStation doesn't recognize, it'll say command not recognized. So let me go in 65 minutes. Next. Here, I type in the name of the macro. The names of the macros cannot have any spaces. So I'm going to call this min 65. So I know that it's a minute interval for 65. I'm going to click next. Here are some optional preferences. For example, you can have a sound or a confirmation window. For this simple macro, I'm just going to not have a confirmation, and I'm not going to have a sound. I just want a very quick action, and I'm just going to click finish. That's it. Notice that in the list of macros that are built into TradeStation, now you have all created your first macro. Wasn't that easy? I know that it takes a few steps, to do this, but it's rather easy. And I'll take you somewhere else after this where you can see all the different commands that you can use. Because once you see all the commands that you can use, there's no need for you to try to figure out what should I type in here to do a particular action. We'll tell you exactly what to do. So this is a minute 65. From here, you don't have access to toolbars. You have access to hotkeys. So I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to close out. And the same way that we added these toolbar buttons, I'm going to come over here again to the very end of my toolbar. I'm going to click on customize. And now I'm not going to be in this time frame category. I'm going to scroll down and find my command line macros, because in here, I'm going to find one that is called min65, which is the one that I created. All the macros that you create are going to be available in here as a toolbar button. And if I click on this and I drag it up here, I'm going to put it right next to the daily one. And there it is. That's my custom macro. I'm going to apply it. And that's it. Now I have a little button here that changes my chart to 65 minutes. I'm going to click it. There we go. 65 minutes. Take a look on the top left corner. And I'm able to have that macro very handy in there to change it to 65. So if you are a mouse person, I know that sometimes it's just so much better just to type it in, but some things are going to be better if you just use the macro for that. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at other exercises and things you can do right here on the TradeStation platform. Let me see what this exercise number 2 says. Okay, this is inserting analysis techniques. Let me show you what this is all about. Let me come back here to my TradeStation, and let me show you where the list of commands there. Okay, in order for you to access the list of commands, it's better for you to pull up the command line. And you pull up the command line by pressing any key on the keyboard. Most of the time, what I do, I just press the space bar. And as soon as you press the space bar, the command line pops up. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at what we can do here. The little drop down right here gives you access to the commands that you recently typed in. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in the next button over, which is called History and Commands List. Let's click there. And it gives you a list of symbols It also gives you a list of intervals, but at the very bottom, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this option at the bottom that says other commands. Let me click there. And it takes me to the TradeStation help. This is where I told you guys that you can click on search on the top right corner and search for command line for you to refresh your memory about the rules and the elements that are necessary to create a command line command. But here, this is a command line reference sorted by application. So let me give you an example. Chart analysis commands. If you type in dot data window or dot DW, you're going to get the data window. Isn't that cool? You know, it has a long name and a short name. So dot DW. Let me try that over here. Right here in the command line, I'm going to go in here and say dot DW. And I'm going to hit the enter key. Take a look, the data window pops up. So rather than having to go to the data menu on top and click on data window, you could have done just dot DW and brings up the data window. Let's take a look at other commands here. Okay, so we have performance report is PR. Let's see, insert analysis group is insert IAG, insert analysis technique, IAT, and you can, add an optional study. This is an interesting one because a lot of times you spend a lot of time, or I spend a lot of time, fishing through the list of studies to find something that I'm looking for. If you know the name of the study exactly as it appears on the list, because it has to be exactly as it appears on the list so that the command recognizes it. If you type in something and there's a typo, you won't recognize it. But if you know the analysis technique as it appears on the list, you can use this command and type in the name of the study and it'll load it to the chart automatically. Let me show you. Let's say that I want a quick moving average. I can do is dot IAT. If you remember the word insert analysis technique, that's where the IAT comes from. Insert analysis technique. I put in a space and I'm going to put in MOV space AVG space 2 space lines. Why am I doing that? Because this is exactly how the moving average 2 lines shows up in the list. But the command is going to look for that study, and if it doesn't match, it won't add it. But if I hit the enter key, take a look. I automatically added a 2-line moving average. If I do the Bollinger Bands, for example, dot IAT, Bollinger Bands. I think that's how you spell it on the list. I hit the enter key, and you have the Bollinger Bands. Dot IAT RSI. RSI just shows up as RSI. I'm going to hit enter, and then you have the RSI study right there at the bottom. So you don't necessarily have to go through studies, add studies, look for the study. If you know what the study is called, this command makes it very easy for you to find it. Does that make sense? All right. And you have the same functionality with analysis groups. I don't think I have a lot of time to go into that, but if you go to studies and you go to add study group, there are some groups already created for you. For example, Bollinger Bands and MACD, Kellner Channel and Momentum. Now I can create those and add those with an IAG. So instead of IAT, is an IAG, which is an insert analysis group. Let me try that. Insert analysis group. Let's say Bollinger Bands and MACD. You see, it switched to my studies to a Bollinger Band and a MACD. Let's do, the other one was Kellner Channel and what was it? Studies and add study group. Kellner Channel and Momentum. Let's say that I do dot IAG, Kellner Channel and Momentum. And it replaces my studies with the Kellner Channel and Momentum right here at the bottom. So these are things that you can add very quickly to TradeStation by just knowing the command. Let me see what I was about to do on exercise number 2. Yes, I already showed you how to insert analysis techniques. Let's do a macro that does multiple things in sequence, because I think that's one of the benefits of knowing about macros and how they work right here in TradeStation. We're going to create a macro that does these 4 actions one after the other. It's going to create a 30-minute chart. It's going to insert the price channel. It's going to insert the price channel strategy, and then it's going to open up the strategy performance report. This is a very cool idea, and it just enhances the use of TradeStation, and it makes it very quick. You know, let me go over here to my TradeStation platform. Let me open up an app here. I'm going to go here and open up Radar Screen. Okay, and I'm going to go to Data, and I'm going to go to Dow Jones Industrial. I did say that I was going to create a macro, a sequence of different activities. I apologize again if I'm not looking at your questions. There's a lot of people in the class, and I wish we had time for questions, but I want to make everyone aware that we're doing weekly classes inside of the Getting Started channel. You know, we have an open Q&A if you want to ask questions to a TradeStation expert. I'm usually there on Wednesdays at noon inside of the Getting Started channel. And if you want to take, your TradeStation level to the next, then join us in the masterclass. We meet there every single day, and you're welcome to ask any questions there if you please. Let me create a macro. I'm going to go to the view menu. I'm going to go to shortcuts, and I'm going to go to macros. We went there one time. We're going to do it again. This time I'm going to click on create. It's a command line macro. Let me click next. Okay, let me show you what we were going to do just as a refresh. We're going to create a 30-minute chart, insert price channel, insert a strategy, and then pull up the strategy performance report. Let's go ahead and see if TradeStation can handle that series of commands. First of all, what is the command to create a new chart? Well, if I go here to my list of commands, this is one of the things that you can do, either sorted by application or command line reference all commands, which is sorted in alphabetical order. Okay, so you can do the two ways. Sometimes if you group them by application, you can see everything that is related to chart analysis. But a lot of times, if you sort by an alphabetical order, then it's easier to go to the new menu and see all the things that start with the word new. So I'm going to scroll down here to the end, and here they are. See, we have new desktop, new chart, new market depth, new matrix, and you have the long command and the short command. So the first command that we want is .nc. That'll create the chart, and it'll create the charts on the active window, which is really cool. You know, we'll use that. So we have the new chart. We know what the command is for 30 minutes. It's just 30 space MIN. Then we're going to insert an indicator, which is the price channel. We know the command for that. We just used it in our previous example, .iat. What is the insert strategy? Let's go back up here. Let's go insert strategies right here. The command is ist, insert strategy. Okay, and what is the command for strategy performance report? I think we looked at it before, but I'll look it up here. So R, strategy, it's not here. Strategy performance report. Maybe under view, no? Maybe just performance report. Right here, performance report.pr. So those are the commands that I need. Let me go back here to my command line wizard. The first command is .nc. These types of commands do need a period at the very beginning, otherwise they won't work. So .nc, right here, it reminds you right here at the bottom. So it tells you commands must be preceded with a period. We established that already. The second notice, use a double semicolon to separate multiple commands. So after typing in your first command, the next thing you have to do is type in a double semicolon so that you can separate and type in the other command. I'm going to do it on the second line, although you don't need it. I mean, you can just type it in all in one line if you want to. I like to do a hard return so that I can have my commands stacked on top of each other. So 30, new chart. We said 30 MIN, double semicolon. So create a new chart, make it a 30-minute chart, dot insert analysis technique, dot IAT is going to be the price channel. That's how you spell it. That's how it appears on the list. Double semicolon. I'm going to do insert strategy. So insert ST, right? So price channel LE. I'm going to do the other one. .ist price channel SE. And then I'm just going to do .pr, which we all know it is the strategy performance report. Does that make sense? I'm creating a list of commands, a chart, make it 30 minutes, insert the price channel, insert the strategy, and then pull up the strategy performance report. Let me click next. And the name of this macro is going to be price channel strategy. It's a long name. Remember, no spaces. I'm going to click next. I don't need a confirmation. I don't need a beep. I'm just going to click finish. So now I have a command that's called price channel strategy. Now let me show you something that I can do. If I click on, let me click on Apple, for example. If I click on Apple, I can call my macro by typing its name inside the command line preceded by a period. So if I do dot, oh, not what I wanted, APL, okay? So let's pull up the command line. Oh, not what I want either. So let's do, if you click in any of these cells, these are editable cells. So if you click there and then you type in a dot, the dot is going to show up in radar screen. You don't want that. So make sure you click on another field that is not editable so that you can just press the dot and then the command line shows up, okay? What did I call my macro? I called it price channel, and it shows you right there in the list. You know, I can click it from here and it runs. That was quick, right? What did it do? Well, it created a chart. Yeah, this is a chart of this is American Express. It added the price channel, it added the strategy, and it pulled up the strategy performance report with one command. Let me go ahead and show you how to create or how to assign a hotkey to it. Makes it much easier. But I wanted to show you that once you have a macro in there, the way that you call the macro is by typing in a dot, typing the name of the macro and hitting enter. It runs the macro for you. Let me show you another way, which is the use of a hotkey. Let me go over to view, go to application, shortcuts, and I'm going to go to hotkeys. So macros and hotkeys are both under shortcuts. I'm going to go to hotkeys. I'm going to go to my command line macros. The one that I created is called price channel. Here it is, price channel strategy. And I'm going to assign a hotkey. I'm going to do Control-Alt-P. Control-Alt-P, it's probably used somewhere because it just sounds like a very, very generic hotkey. Let me try another one. Let me do Control-Alt-Shift-P. Okay, so Control-Alt-Shift-P. And I'm going to assign this. This is already used as well. It's used for apply session pre-post market. Do you want to reassign the shortcut to this command? I'm going to say yes, because you can always reassign shortcuts and use them differently. You know, there are some hotkeys already pre-created on TradeStation, but it doesn't stop you from using them again. So if you really want to use that hotkey combination, then take over it, overwrite it. You know, if you're not using the other one, what's the point of keeping it there? I want to use Control-Alt-Shift-P for my macro. So I'm going to click on, it's already assigned. All right, I'm going to click on close. So all I need to do, if I wanted to see how the price channel strategy works on Apple, I just click on Apple. Although this is a 5-minute chart, but it is okay. The macro already knows that it needs to turn the chart into a 30-minute. But I click on Apple, and all I need to do is hit my hotkey. I'm going to use my fingers right here, Control, Shift, Alt, and P. And what it does, creates a chart, 30-minute chart, price channel gets inserted, and have a strategy report right here. Isn't that cool? All with one hotkey, it just does everything for you. All right. But if I want to see how the price channel strategy works on Walmart, I click on WMT, Control, Shift, Alt, P, and that is going to run my macro, my chart, the indicator, the strategy, and the performance report. It gives me the report on that particular symbol. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the other type of macros, which are the order entry. All right, let me go ahead and take a look at order entry macros. We have about 10 minutes left in class, and I want to make sure that everybody here walks away with an example on how to create an order entry macro. I'm going to use this same watch list that's here. But for this, I'm going to open up my position graph bar. You can see that there's a lot of open positions up here. Control F12, that's the hotkey that I have assigned to that hotkey. By the way, this is something that is already pre-programmed. If you go to the macros window again, shortcuts, macros, and in the command line, there is a command line that says close all positions. This is something that is already built in. And if you go to hotkeys, you can see the hotkey that has been assigned to it. If there's no hotkey, you can assign one if you want. But mine is Control F12, and I know that that closes all positions. So let me close out of this. I want to start off with a blank slate. So what I'm going to do, Control F12. Control F12. It says, would you like to run the close all positions macro? This time, I'm going to say yes. It says order entry macros are locked. It's good that this happened because this will probably happen on your platform as well, especially if you're doing order entry macros. By default, yes, they are going to be locked to prevent you from accidentally placing orders without knowing. So don't be afraid about everything that has been pre-programmed in TradeStation, because from the get-go, everything is locked down. As you can see, my order entry macros are locked. But I'm going to check this box that says unlock order entry macros for future macro orders. I'm going to say okay, and I'm going to run it one more time. Control F12. It's going to ask me, would you like to run the close all positions macro? I'm going to say yes. You're about to exit all positions in all accounts. Do you want to continue? I'm going to say yes. Order filled. And everything is gone except for a call position that I have here. I'm not sure why it wasn't closed. Let me do it again. Control F12. And you come over to View, Shortcuts, Macros. In the Macros dialog, I'm going to click on Create one more time. But this time, I'm going to go to Order Entry Macro. I'm going to create something simple so that we can all follow along. It's a simple example. It's going to be an order to enter and another one to exit. Okay, so let's go ahead and do an order entry macro. It's going to ask me a few questions about what I want the order to do. The first question is, do you want this macro to first send the order or customize at the trade bar? Well, I want the order to be sent. So that's the whole reason why I'm creating a macro. Second, do you want this macro to allow orders on, and then you have all the different asset classes. This is going to be for equities, although you can also create a macro for futures if you want to. I'm going to click next. The symbol is going to be the active symbol, which gives your macro a lot of flexibility. You're not tied into a specific symbol, although you can enter a symbol here if you want and have a macro that is symbol specific, especially if you're a futures trader and maybe you only trade the S&P E-mini, or maybe you also trade the Dow Mini YM, and you want to create macros around those two products. Maybe you want to create something specific on a specific symbol, but this macro is going to be on the active symbol, which means that it'll grab the symbol from the active window. Isn't that cool? Whatever window you're on and you run the macro, it'll look at the symbol that you have on the window and it'll grab it to send an order. I'll show you how that works. The quantity, I'm going to put a quantity of 100 shares. All right, just an example. Click next. This is the account that is going to be traded. I'm just going to trade the trade bar account, which is the only one that I have connected here. If you had multiple accounts, you could select the account that you want to trade. I'm going to click next. This will be a buy order. Let's say this is a buy limit. I'm going to do a market order only as an example, but most of the time I would use, a limit order and join. Join, where I would use the hit take. This is the type of macro that looks at the inside ask at the time that the macro is run. Sometimes you don't know what the price is going to be in the next 5 minutes or 10 minutes. So what you do is you assign your price to the inside bid or ask, and it'll select either the bid or the ask depending on what you select here. Of course, you can do, I think you can do a custom price here. No, you can't. So you have to use one of the auto pricing functionalities, but this is a very interesting one of placing that trade. Okay, back to market. Market order. I don't need any advanced stuff. I'm just going to click next. And this will be my macro, buy 100. Let's click next. No confirmation. Let me display the confirmation for the first one, and then I'll show you how you can disable it. I'm going to finish, and now I have a buy 100 macro listed here with all the other macros that are built into TradeStation. I'm going to create again. Actually, no, before I create, let me assign a hotkey here. I'm going to click on hotkeys, and my hotkey is going to be Control-Shift-B. Assign. Okay. Control-Shift-B for buying. Now I'm going to click on create, and I'm going to do an order entry macro. Same settings here. Active symbol. The quantity is going to be, I'm going to check this box instead that says use position quantity, because this is going to be a selling transaction. So look at how many shares there are and then close that position. I'm going to click next. The account is the same one. And this is a selling transaction at market. This will be sell 100. Let me click next. I have confirmations on. Let me go ahead and finish. And then I have a buy 100 and a sell 100. My hotkey for the sell 100 is going to be Control-Shift-S for sell. I'll assign it. This is already assigned on view shortcut bar. I want to reassign it, so I'm going to say yes. Now it's been reassigned to sell 100, and I'm going to click on close, and then on close. So I've already created two macros. You can see how quickly I did that. One to buy 100 and another one to sell 100. Let's go ahead and buy and then sell. But this is going to show you some functionality. I'm going to go a little bit crazy here, buying and selling stuff, not the the correct way of using macros, but it reinforces the idea that you can use these hotkeys and macros to enter and exit the market. Let's say, let me click on Apple, and I'm going to do Control-Shift-B. And it's going to say, would you like to run the buy 100 macro? That's the one that I created. I'm going to say yes.
Order filled.
I'm not sure if you heard it. I'm going to raise the volume here a little bit, but it's getting order confirmation, says order filled, and you can see Apple right here in my positions panel. AXP, Control-Shift-B. Would you like to run the macro? Yes.
Order filled.
I get the audible confirmation. I see American Express up there. Let me go ahead and disable confirmations. Let's say, for example, you're getting tired of pressing OK on that confirmation. Let me go here to, I get an order rejected. I think it was on the options. I think it's a problem with the simulator, which is okay. Let me go to view here, shortcuts, and macros. And I'm going to find my buy macro. Here we go. I'm going to edit it. And everything remains the same except for this dialog. I'm just going to display the confirmation and the beep and finish it. And for the selling transaction, that's the options order. For sell 100, I'm going to edit it, go through the wizard here, disable the confirmation and the beep, and finish it. So this is the way that you go back into the macro and make edits to it. So feel free to do so if the macro is not working correctly, and make sure that you're doing this on the simulator so that errors are not painful. Okay, so always test order entry functionality on the simulator so that you don't make errors on your trades. So, okay, I disabled confirmations. Let's go here. BA. I click on BA, Shift B.
Order filled.
I get BA up here. Isn't that cool? In fact, I don't have to, if I hit the enter key, that's CAT.
Order filled.
That's Cisco.
Order filled.
CVX.
Order filled.
Disney. So you can come down through a list of different symbols that you're watching and maybe enter a position quickly if you want to. Now, if I go to Apple, and I do Control-Shift-S, Apple, Control-Shift-S, no, wrong one. Okay, that's not what I wanted. So maybe the Control-Shift-S is a hotkey that cannot be used for the selling transaction. Let me go here to order entry. Let's go to sell 100. So Control-Shift-S. Let's go ahead and change that. I'm going to click here where it says press new hotkey. Control-Alt-S.
Order rejected.
I'm going to assign this and remove the other one. Let me remove this one. Alt-Shift-S. Let's try it again. I'm going to click on Apple. Alt-Shift-S.
Order filled.
Okay, that works. Let's go to BA.
Order filled.
CAT.
Order filled.
CRM.
Order filled.
Cisco.
Order filled.
And CVX, if I hover over CVX, I have 100 shares.
Order rejected.
That's my order rejects on the options trade. But let's go here to CVX, and I'm going to press, Control-Shift-B 5 times. 1,
Order filled.
2,
Order filled.
3,
Order filled.
4,
Order filled.
5.
Order filled.
So I just added 500 shares to my CVX position. If I hover over it, you can see that I'm long 600. Now, if I click on CVX, I want you guys to keep an eye on this right here, because the macro that we created to sell is going to sell the whole quantity. It should sell my 600 shares. So let's go ahead and try this. I'm going to click on CVX, and my hotkey is Shift-Alt-S.
Order filled.
You see how it closed out my CVX position in its entirety? Because it actually uses the position, whatever that position quantity is. So very interesting functionality that is built into TradeStation that allows you to do a lot of interesting order entry and command line macros. Let me see if I can.
Rejected.
I keep on getting an order rejected here. Let me lower the volume here a little bit. And let's go ahead and take some questions here from the chat. We have a few minutes here. Will this work for futures? Yes, it will work for futures. You just have to make sure that you select futures when you go and edit the macro. Can you do a percentage? Not with the macro functionality. This is limited to number of shares, and you can exit the whole quantity. If you're interested in using percentages, I advise that you go and take a look at the keyboard trading, which is part of chart trading. There's a video already in the TradeStation YouTube channel that explains how to use keyboard trading, okay? Can we automatically attach the stop limit and the limit to it also? So you're talking about brackets. Can you use brackets with macro functionality? Yes, but I don't recommend it. Macros do not work well with OSOs and OCOs. I would rather use keyboard trading. So again, for those interested in that, there's a video already on the YouTube channel. Search for keyboard trading and explains how to use that functionality there. All right. No percentage to sell a percentage of the position. Okay. Can you use this to set or add limit to an already open position? Yes, you can. I believe you can. So when you go here to the view shortcuts macros, let's say that I go and edit my buy macro. The pricing is the tricky part, because the pricing, you can do a limit, and then you can do an increment right here. So if you do a hit and take plus, anything that has a plus allows you to do an increment. So this would be the way to do it. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and this is the end of it. We ran out of time. So I hope that you guys like the functionality. As I said earlier, we are doing classes every single week, not only in the Getting Started with TradeStation channel, but also the masterclass. So make sure you visit us. The website is youcantrade.com. And if you go to the channels tab, you'll find the 2 channels. Getting Started is completely free. I'm inviting everyone to join me this Wednesday at 12 noon. I do an open Q&A, and you can ask any questions on the TradeStation technology. If you're ready to take your TradeStation knowledge to the next level, the TradeStation Masterclass is a premium channel. We talk about technical analysis, strategy development, and also easy language programming in that channel. So make sure you check out the content. There's a free trial for that, and we want to encourage everyone to take advantage of that. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the TradeStation family, and I hope that everyone has a wonderful afternoon. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.